Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree if you are new here, and I haven't done one of these in a while, so I figured that today I would do a summer bridal tutorial. There are tons of people out there, I'm sure people watching this video, who do their own makeup for their wedding, and I did my own makeup for both of my weddings to the same person. So I figured I would just do a little summer bridal tutorial, just kind of show you guys some tips and tricks, maybe give you guys a little bit of inspiration, something to follow along with if you're doing that. So if you guys want to hang out and see a little summer bridal tutorial, then just keep on watching. So I am going to pack this video with tips and tricks that is going to make your makeup look its best, last its longest, photograph well, all of that. So first things first, eye primer. Eye primer, eye primer, eye primer. It exists for a reason. Yes, on a day-to-day basis, concealer can be a great option, but realistically, eye primers exist because they hold your eyeshadow on the best. They do, you know, like a lot of cases like the one that I'm using right now, which is the MAC Paint Pot, they cancel out the undertones of your eyelid. Like you can see a drastic difference between the two. Eyeshadow would look completely different on these two tones. They're going to hold your eyeshadow on. They're going to prevent your eyeshadow from creasing. It's a must, in my opinion. Another tip that I have is to take whatever powder you're going to be setting down your face with. So it's going to match your skin tone perfectly. This is one that I have used up to the point of not really being able to use a face like brush with it, so it's been relegated off to use on my eyes. And before starting anything, just set your brow bone, because you don't want to take your eyeshadow all the way up to your brow bone. So this is going to give you something to blend into, and we'll actually come back to this during the eyeshadow application. It's what I consider, it's what I call my little magic eraser trick, because you can go back in with this brush and this powder and soften blends, tone down anything that maybe may have gone a little too far, soften everything. But it matches your skin tone, so it's not gonna like stand out or be super bright white or anything like that. And then when it comes to eyeshadow, you obviously want to feel like yourself at your wedding. That's of course the biggest thing. For me personally, I did a wing liner. I didn't do like a massive wing like I usually do, but I did a wing liner because that's me and that's something that I wear every single day. But at the same time, you do want to play into more classic makeup. You don't necessarily want to do makeup that is trendy at the time, because you want to be able to look back at your wedding photos, or, you know, photos of your best friend's wedding that you were a maid of honor at, or, you know, whatever you're doing that you're following along with this tutorial or just listening to these tips and tricks. You want to look back and not feel dated. You do want to, you want your makeup to be timeless. So with that being said, neutrals are always timeless, and eyeshadow application in a lot of situations is going to be relatively timeless when it comes to nude eyeshadow. So for today's makeup look, I'm going to use the ColourPop Gone Matte palette because it is all neutral, all matte, perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with a small shader brush, and I am going to go into, I'm actually going to mix together Fleecy and Snoozin'. My skin tone and how I like to do my makeup pairs better with warmer tones. That could be different for you and your undertone, obviously. If you have a cooler undertone, you may want to go with something a little bit more neutral to cool. It just depends on what you like to wear. But I'm going to mix those two together. As you can see, I did not pick up a ton. And I'm just going to start out by kind of stamping this in a little bit of an upward motion on my outer corner, and I'm going to take it just a little bit down along my lash line, but I am keeping this relatively soft. I'm not too concerned with what's going on the underside, because I can always go back in and clean that up, and I will go back in and clean that up. I just want to get a little bit of color right on my outer corner. I don't need it to be like a sharp point. I'm going to take whatever is left on this brush and just kind of run this along my lash line. Oh, a Lola. Just to start to create some depth, because it's going to mean that we can do a slightly softer wing. I know it looks crazy right now. It'll all come together. And then next up, I'm going to take a very small pointed blending brush and I'm going to go one step up in this palette. So I'm going to mix together Blanky and Ultra Suede. Again, I'm not picking up a ton because we want to work in small increments here. It's a lot easier to add more than it is to take away eyeshadow. And I'm just slowly dragging this from my outer corner up into my crease. Now when I look straight ahead, as you can see, I actually have two different eye shapes. This one is more hooded, it's got a fold in the lid, whereas this one does not. So I have to compensate for that and take this a little bit above my crease on both sides, and that's going to make my eyes look more even. And again, I don't want to take this up super high. I'm keeping it relatively close to my crease, just a little bit above it. So doing the same thing on the other side, starting at that outer corner and just slowly building towards my inner corner. Biggest thing is just to regularly stop and look straight ahead. As I can see, this side is up higher than this side. So I'm gonna make sure I take this down, and then I'll take the other side up a little bit higher. That's what I kind of have to do to make sure that my eyes are even, is just go back and forth between the two. And then same brush, same colors. I'm going to fill in this outer corner to kind of create like a little bit of a line from here to here. I don't recommend blending that way, but I wanted to show you where I'm creating that line. So again, we're kind of creating a line right about here. If you need to create that line to be able to see what you're doing, by all means, just make sure you're going back in and softening that line as well. So what this is going to do is it's going to kind of lift the eyes up like this. It's going to make your eyes look a lot more open. Next up, I'm going to take a still pretty small blending brush. I'm not going to use any big blending brushes today, aside from the one that I used on my brow bone. And I'm going to go into Shaggy. I'm not going to mix this one together, but I'm going to go into Shaggy and use this to blend this top edge a little bit further. And like I said, I'm going to go back in with my magic eraser trick and soften this back down as well. And then I am going to take just a little bit of Shaggy right along the edge on my lid as well, just to make sure that that line that I created is nice and soft. I want to make sure we have good gradients here. Okay, and then really quick, I am going to go back in with my powder foundation and my brow blending brush. I'm not picking up a ton here, and I am keeping it up against my brows. And as you can see, this is why I don't do my brows first. I'm just kind of blending this down into that shadow, because I can always go back in with the shadows that I used and re-intensify. A makeup look like this is obviously not going to be the day to experiment, of course, but it's also not going to be the day to like rush through it. You want to take your time going back and forth between blending up and blending back down and just making sure that everything is as seamless as it can be. So I'm going to go back in with just a little bit of Shaggy, and rather than putting it up above where I just previously was, I'm going to focus this in my crease, and it's just going to kind of re-intensify what I had just blended down. With that being said, one thing to really keep in mind when it comes to photography, makeup photography, wedding photography, the sun, the camera, the lights, the flash, all of it is going to wash out your makeup a little bit. So you always want to put on a little bit more makeup than you would normally, that you wouldn't expect to. You want to go a little bit deeper than you would expect to. You obviously want to look beautiful in person, but let's put it this way. It's 2024. I got married in 2018. I have little bits and pieces of memory of the wedding. It wasn't even that long ago. It's our 6th anniversary this year. It was not even that long ago. But the vast majority of my memory of our wedding is in pictures and videos. And I'm aware of the fact that as I get older, it's going to depend more and more and more on those pictures and videos. So I'm going back in with the tiny brush that had Blanky and Ultra Suede on it, and honestly, I haven't even dipped into my palette at all. I'm just using what is left over on this brush. Now I'm dipping in for just a couple spots that really need more precise pigment. I'm actually not even going to go back into the most deepest shades. I'm going to use Blanky and Ultra Suede now as my deepest shades, because I'm fine with how my outer corner looks. Now I'm going to go back into Shaggy just a little bit on my outer corner. But yeah, my point is that yes, consider how you are going to look in person, but also keep in mind that as the years go on, what you're going to look back on the most is pictures and videos. So definitely keep that in mind. Okay, next up is the lid space. I am gonna put on a shimmer. You can choose to go matte if you would like. If you choose to go shimmer, I would personally recommend something like a ColourPop Super Shock Shadow, or like a Stila Glisten and Glow, or Stila Shimmer and Glow. I wouldn't even necessarily go Stila Glitter and Glow because those are very glittery. This is the Super Shock in the shade Mighty Morphin. But the reason why I say that is that these are going to be the thinnest while also being the least likely to crease. Especially with like the Stila liquid shadows, as long as you keep your eyes closed while it dries down for like a minute, it's not going anywhere, it's not creasing, it's not budging, it is staying exactly where it needs to be. Same with the Super Shocks as well. So I'm not taking this super high up or anything like that, I'm just putting it in that open space, and then I'm taking my clean pinky and just kind of softening where the two meet. And there is still some tackiness from the eyeshadow primer that's going to further grip this product onto my lids. And if at this point you find it necessary, you could always take the brush that you used to blend everything out, the lightest brush, and just run it over the outer edge of the shimmer shadow just to soften it up just a little bit more. I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to take this one just a little bit. Yeah, like I said at the beginning of this video, you still want to feel like yourself. So from here, I am going to put on a small wing. It's going to help camouflage my lash band as well, because I'm going to wear false lashes. But say you have lash extensions, or just like really, really good lashes, or you don't wear a wing very often, you can just clean up underneath your eyes, kind of clean up this outer corner and call it a day. Maybe you want to do just like a little smudge of like a brown or a black pencil liner, totally an option as well. Do from here, finish up your lids how you would be most comfortable. I do want to quickly touch on base makeup, just quickly. I'm not going to show you me applying my base makeup. The reason being is because everyone's skin is different. How my skin is may not be how your skin is. Your skin's needs may not be the same as mine. I have normal to dry skin, I have acne prone skin, I have acne scarring. Those are all things that I have to take into consideration while doing my base makeup. With that being said, first things first, trial. Do so many trial runs with your makeup. Just as in general, trial run your eyeshadow, trial run everything, but do trial runs. And when you're done with your makeup, go into your bathroom, don't turn on the lights, close the door so it's dark in there, take your phone, turn on the flash, and take a back camera picture of your makeup with the flash on. You want to make sure that there is not a single product that you are putting on your face that has flashback. If you take that flash picture and your face is suddenly 5 shades lighter than the rest of your body, you have to go back and evaluate what is causing that flashback. SPF is a big one. Myself personally, unless you have trial runned it and you know for a fact that it is not going to flash back, I wouldn't even wear SPF that day. Unless you are getting married in the middle of August, in the middle of a very bright field at high noon, and you know that you will burn like that, I honestly wouldn't even recommend wearing SPF, because the likelihood of it causing flashback is so high that I wouldn't personally risk it. I am wearing SPF today, but I mean, I'm not personally gonna go do flash photography today, so, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Powders are another thing that can really risk flashback, so you want to make sure that you are testing and taking pictures and practicing, because you want to make sure that you're not getting flashback. Now that I have like drilled that into the ground, now is not the time to wear, you know, your tinted SPF argument aside. Now is not the time to wear your BB creams and your CC creams. Fuller coverage makeup is going to photograph better. That just is what it is. It is going to photograph better. It is going to look better in the long run. Now again, you still want to feel like yourself. And if you have never in your life worn foundation and you have the most beautiful skin, and even if you don't have the most beautiful skin, but if you are comfortable in your skin and you have gorgeous freckles that you want to show off, then obviously just skip the foundation altogether. If you are going to be wearing foundation, pick a medium coverage foundation at the least. Don't wear a light coverage foundation. Use gripping primers, because that is going to keep your makeup on. Now is not the time to wear just like a really thin layer. Your skin will just eat that product away and it will just disappear. So even when I'm saying trial your makeup, try it in the morning, wear it all day long. You want to see not only how you apply it, how it photographs, you want to see how it wears throughout the day. You want to see how it wears for a full day so that you can know what adjustments you need to make. There's tons of base routines all over YouTube, different people, different skin types. I have a ton on my channel if you have similar skin to me. There's tons of options out there that you can learn from. I just don't want to tell you how to do a base makeup for your wedding if you don't have the same skin as me. If you have super oily skin, I'm not the source for you, you know? With that being said, I am gonna go put on a little baby wing, put on my base, and I will be right back. Foundation on. I am going to use cream, bronzer, and blush today, and then powders as well. It's just going to help everything last throughout the day. So I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Blush in Sunkissed. I am going to start out with just a little bit on my nose. I'm not going to go too crazy here. Typically what I'll do in these situations where I want a little bit of definition on my nose, but I don't want to look too trendy, is I will take the creams and apply that how I would like to create definition on my nose, and then I'll set down my whole face and I'll put setting powder over it, and it'll kind of not cover it, but just kind of blend it into my skin in a way that it just kind of looks like more natural definition. And I won't actually put any powder bronzer on my nose. I'm going to put a little bit underneath my lip because, well, I do want my lips to look pouty. And do remember too, if you feel like you go a little bit overboard, if you put some on your nose, you can always go back in with your sponge and clean it up. And then I'm going to put a little bit of bronzer on my forehead. Again, I'm really just trying to keep this like more natural looking. I don't want to go like too heavy on the bronze, keep it nice and soft, adding dimension and color back to my face after putting on foundation, but I don't want to look like carved and you know, very 2016, 2024, like full glam. I don't want to look trendy. I just want to look bronzed. And one thing I will say is I personally don't like putting both bronzer and blush on my cheeks. I feel like it's just too much. It's too much competing in one small space. So I just keep the bronzer to my forehead and then keep the blush to my cheeks, and everything kind of blends together in my temples. So as you can see, I did not put a ton on my face. I did also use a much lighter bronzer than I usually use. So it's gonna stay nice and soft looking. I'm even gonna take my sponge and kind of go back in this center area right here, just to even further kind of just soften out that space. And then for cream blush, I'm gonna use my absolute favorite, which is the LYS Higher Standard Satin Matte Cream Blush in the shade Kindness. This is such a beautiful wedding, like even not necessarily just this shade, just this product in general is such a beautiful wedding blush. It blends so easily. It's not too pigmented. The tones of these blushes are beautiful as well. And as you can see, I'm not applying a ton. I am keeping it further back on my face. That's just what works best for my face shape. You can put your blush wherever works best for your face shape, but I did blend them together kind of in my temples area, but I didn't put on a ton. And then I'm gonna go set down a good portion of my face. I'm gonna set down the lower half of my face and the center of my forehead. I do like to put setting powder over where I put my blush so it's not too much, but I will use the tackiness of the cream blush to hold on, or cream bronzer to hold on the cream bronzer. But I'm gonna go do all that. I'll be right back. Okay, really quick before I jump over and finish up my like bronzer and blush and everything, I'm just gonna finish up my under eyes. So I'm gonna go back into the Gone Matte palette, and I'm actually going to grab the shader brush that I used. I just wiped it off on my little washcloth, and rather than going into the two darkest shades, I'm gonna go into the shades that we used on my crease. And again, I'm picking up the tiniest amount because especially on the under eyes, you A, don't want it to be too heavy, but B, it's, you know, really hard to take it away once you put it in. So that's literally all the eyeshadow that I had on the brush the first time. So I'm just slowly building this up and adding a little bit of dimension on my lower lash line. Not too much, we're not going too heavy here. Focusing it on my outer corner to kind of keep that lifted shape. And then I'm gonna grab a very small blending brush and go into Shaggy and just use it to soften the bottom just a little bit more. And if you need to, you can always take a really soft blending brush, even one just like this, wiped off would be perfectly fine, and go back in with the powder that you set your under eyes with to soften even further if you so need to. But that's the under eyes. Very simple. All right, next up, I'm going to take a little bit of powder bronzer to set down the parts of my face that I haven't set down yet. I'm going to use the Milani Baked Bronzer in Dolce because it is a very soft bronzer. And now because I haven't put any powder on top of this cream bronzer, I'm making sure to press it into my skin rather than like swirling and sweeping. When I get to where I put my powder foundation, I can kind of sweep backwards together and just kind of swirl and make sure it's nice and smooth. But I don't want to disturb the creams underneath. As you can see, it's very subtle, but there is a slight difference and a slight intensification. Struggled with that word. But I'm not picking up a ton at a time. I'm just picking up small amounts. And also this is a very sheer bronzer, so. And I'm not going to put any on my nose, maybe just a little bit on the underside. And then next up, I'm going to go in with just a touch of matte powder bronzer. I'm going to use the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush, in Always Cheeky. This is just going to kind of bring back a little bit of that color that I just covered with my powders, but I don't want my blush to be crazy heavy. And typically in a day-to-day makeup, I would put a little bit of blush on my nose, but I'm not going to do that right now because I view that as something that's very trendy. And there is a high possibility that I'm going to look back on my makeup looks from now and be like, why did I always have blush on my nose, you know? You want it to be soft and pretty and ethereal and all of that, but you do want to make sure that there's enough there that cameras are picking it up. So with that being said, I am going to go in with a blush topper. This is the Essence Pure Nude baked blush in Pretty Peach. This is going to further intensify that blush, but it's also going to add a really pretty soft glow to the skin. I almost just instinctually put that on my nose. So as you can see, it's there, it's visible, but it's not like overpowering, right? Okay, now with that being said, I know my skin, and I know that my skin will start to get a little bit glowy throughout the day. So while sometimes I would put on like a little bit of a soft glowy powder, and if you have really, really matte skin but you want it to look like it's dewy and fresh, you could take a very sheer, very softly glowing powder and put it like on the center of your forehead and just like where light would catch it. I don't personally need to do that for this look. I don't want to be too shiny in pictures. I am going to put on a little bit of highlight, but nothing crazy. I'm going to go in with the Too Faced Natural Face Palette. I'm going to use the shade Satin Sheets. I'm going to start out by putting just a little bit on my inner corner just to really brighten up that space, because that is one of the darkest spaces on my face. And that is just going to further open up my eyes. And then I'm going to put a little bit on my cheeks, but I'm going to use a really loose fluffy brush here because I don't want it too concentrated, because I feel like, again, that's a very trendy thing, is to have it like very concentrated. I just want like a soft glow kind of starting at the apples of my cheeks, kind of pulled back. Almost like it was a part of that blush topper. And I chose Satin Sheets specifically because on my face, it kind of almost looks like a candlelight glow. I'm gonna put a little bit on my brow bone as well, but nothing too crazy. And then last but not least, I'm just gonna take whatever's left on my brush and just put a little bit on my nose, just so there, again, is a little bit of dimension on my nose. But I also just know that my nose doesn't really get shiny throughout the day, so I can do this and it wouldn't be a problem. Just like a soft, diffused glow on the skin. And honestly, that's pretty much it. Everything else from here is very much a dealer's choice. How you choose to do your eyebrows, you know, how you choose to finish up your eyes, if you're wearing eyelashes or not, you know, are you doing singles, are you doing strips, do you have lash extensions on, things like that are all kind of dealer's choice. The only thing that I would say, aside from, you know, pounding it in again, that you want to stay away from what's trendy, you want to look a little bit more natural in those places. Don't do, you know, like the super fluffy brows, don't do the super carved out eyebrows, kind of just make them look a little bit more natural. The only thing is I would personally suggest to discuss it with your partner regarding lip products. Now, maybe you want to do something very specific for pictures, and that's totally fine. In my personal experience, I know that my husband doesn't like kissing me when I have lip gloss on. I mean, he likes kissing me, but he doesn't like the feeling of lip gloss on his own lips. So I took lip gloss off the table completely. And then I was kind of continuing to evaluate my options. And I was like, okay, but like a regular bullet lipstick, while beautiful, I have to pay attention to that, you know, like I have to think about that. I don't want to have to think about it. So there's obviously liquid lipstick, something like the Maybelline Vinyl Ink is going to have that shine, but it's also going to be a little bit sticky. So again, discuss it with your partner because it's their wedding too. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and I will also tell you what I did. What I'm going to do, because I didn't have this option back then, is I'm going to use a ColourPop blotted lip. So that is going to be matte. I'm going to hydrate the hell out of my lips before I put it on. It's going to be matte. I'm going to put on a very thin layer of it. So as it kind of wears off, it's going to just kind of naturally wear down, and then my lips will look fine. But it's going to have that powder finish. So as I'm, you know, as you're kissing your partner, as you're, you know, eating and stuff like that, like there's not going to be any transfer. It's not going to look weird. What I actually did on my wedding day was I took my favorite My Lips But Better lip liner, and because as you can see, obviously putting on foundation and powder, I've kind of covered up my lip line a little bit, you know, I've got a little bit of makeup on my lips. I actually took my favorite lip liner, I fixed up my lip line, filled in my lips, grabbed a tissue, blotted most of it off, and then I just put on some chapstick. Honestly, and my lips looked great. And they weren't sticky, and it just looked like my natural lips. So that's what I did. That's also what I'm going to do. I'm gonna go finish up the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Alright, so this is the final look. Apologize if you hear outside noises. It got hot in here, so I had to open the window a little bit. But this is the final look. As you can see, there is, I mean, it's not fully dry yet, but there is basically no transfer from my lip product, which is exactly what I wanted. And if, you know, hello. And if, you know, this was my makeup for my wedding and I started to feel throughout the night that maybe, you know, it was getting a little bit dry, I could always toss some like chapstick or like a lip mask on top. It'd be fine. But this is the final look and I think that it's gorgeous. I think that it would be such a pretty bridal makeup, wedding guest makeup, you know, just event makeup in general, wedding party makeup, you know, tons of options here. But beautiful makeup. I love the way that it turned out. I hope that you guys learned something. Comment down below your tips and tricks as well. Let's make it a conversation down below. Please subscribe if you have not already. It would mean the world to me. Like this video, ring the bell, do all the things. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!